Woo! What's up guys? Right, today it's review day and we're going to be reviewing this Delta Cap by Flexfit. Let's do this.
2, 3, listen.
Okay, so I've been wearing this Delta Cap for the last few weeks and I've got to say this is possibly one of the most comfortable caps I've ever worn. I think it's down to the way it's finished off on the inside of the cap and the sweatband. We'll get into all that. The first thing I want to cover is similarities between the Delta Cap and your normal Flexfit cap. So if I just take these caps and just check the size of the peaks of them, they look exactly the same as one another. So if I'm just squishing up, I'm talking about this area over here, they're exactly the same height. And even if we look at the crown of the cap, which is this area over here and over here, those are exactly the same. So you're going to get the exact same embroidery area out of both of these. The only thing you're not getting with this cap is the extra stitching either side of the seams. There's no stitching. So if we have a look at that cap there, you can see there's stitching either side of where the seam runs down over here. You can see the stitching either side of that. Whereas on the Flexfit Delta Cap, there is no stitching. It's just a very well structured seam there. So there's hardly anything there. It's just that it's just got a joint, very flat as well, nice flat surface. That then brings me to how flat these seams are. Now the reason why having a flat seam is so good for embroidery is because it doesn't interfere with the needle going through the fabric and causing needle deflection, which then doesn't make for a very good embroidery. Not to say that you don't get good embroideries out of your good old Flexfit baseball caps, because you do, but you just have less trouble when you're actually embroidering on this flat seam over here. Now the great addition even to having this very flat seam on the front over here is the inside of the cap. And the reason why I'm getting so excited about the inside of this cap is because of these flat tapered seams. Let me just move the lights around quick so you can see better inside this cap. Okay, so if we have a look inside the Flexfit Delta Cap, you can see the tapered seams, which are these black lines over here with that grey print on them. They're so extremely flat compared to your normal baseball cap. So if we have a look at a baseball cap, you can see these seams here, these red lines here, are pretty thick and they stand out quite a bit. In actual fact, in some spots where the needle actually has to go through just to make one single stitch, I think it's passing through about 4 pieces of fabric, because the fabric basically has to fold over, then you've got another layer of the taping going on top of that. That layer of taping is then folded. There's about 4 layers sometimes when the needle actually has to penetrate through the cap. Whereas on the Flexfit Delta Cap, because the seam is so smooth, the needle's not able to fight to go through any sort of area there. It's just easily going through, making the stitch, coming back out. Another great thing about these flat seams is that it just makes this cap so super comfy to actually wear. It's great. And then some of the other features about the Flexfit Delta Cap are featured on the cap card that's applied in the cap, which is this here. And you can see some of the details there talking about its moisture wicking system. So basically what that is this part of the undervisor, it is a different fabric to the outside of the cap. So basically what happens is when you start sweating, the moisture gets dispersed through the sweatband, which is a super comfy sweatband by the way. It just goes in here and it's meant to come out this section to prevent sweat building up on this front piece over here. So it's actually quite clever how they've done it. So hopefully it works. So that's the basic specs on this cap. Well, everything I can think of. So let's get an embroidery onto this bad boy. Now the best embroidery I can think of is a 3D embroidery. This is so we can really put this cap under pressure and put that center seam under strain to see how it all copes. So let's do this. So I've got the design set up on the EMT machine over here. Now the design is measuring in at 152 millimeters wide, so just within that 155, but the height is 58 millimeters. So it's pushing past that 55 millimeters to see if it's going to fit on the height of this cap. Okay, so let's start doing it. So it's just gone past the center of the cap, and There was no interference whatsoever, so it was like embroidering a 5-panel cap. So you haven't got any interference or any needle deflection, what I was talking about earlier. Because of those flat tapered seams, it just went so smooth. I can already tell from this 3D embroidery that it's still keeping a good height of that 3D embroidery using the full expansion of that foam. Come have a look. Doesn't that look good? The cap's just finished. Let's take it off and check how it looks. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how this has turned out. It's actually come out really well. So let's get some dramatic music going and get some close-up shots. All in all, pretty happy with how this cap turned out. The 3D embroidery did what it was meant to do in keeping that height. It wasn't affected by the center seam, which was a breeze to embroider over because of those tapered seams on the inside. Just made it really easy, and it kept the shape and the design just on target, what we actually wanted, which is perfect. It's just, all in all, just one super comfy cap. Just really happy with how this cap came out. So I've left a link in the description below if you're interested in any more information on the Flexfit Delta cap. So that brings me to the end of this episode. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm out of here.